I don't know why mornings always feel like tiny battlegrounds, but that day, it felt like the whole world was conspiring to make me snap. The kettle wouldn't boil fast enough. My hair wouldn't sit right. My phone kept buzzing with emails from people who apparently thought I woke up solely to solve their problems. I could hear him moving around behind me, his footsteps soft, careful, the way he always walked when he knew I was stressed. It should have calmed me. Instead, it irritated me for reasons I couldn't explain. "Hey," he said, voice still rough with sleep. "Before we head out, can I get a hug?" Just that. A simple, harmless, innocent question. But something inside me, something brittle, cracked. A hug? Now? When I was running late, when everything felt like it was balancing on a tightrope. Childish, my brain hissed. Overly needy. And because I didn't stop to breathe, or think, or do literally anything except react. I turned around, annoyance spilling out of me like boiling water. "You're not a kid," I snapped. "Grow up." The silence that followed wasn't loud. It was quiet, so quiet that it somehow made the air heavier. He didn't argue. Didn't push. His face didn't even twist in anger. It just fell. Like someone dimmed the light in his eyes. And then, because I was being stubborn and defensive and stupidly proud, I did the worst thing I could have done. I walked to the door, opened it, and slammed it behind me. Hard. The moment the sound echoed down the hallway, it was like hitting the play button on my guilt. Sharp. Immediate. Sinking straight into the pit of my stomach. I stood there for a full second, hand frozen on the doorknob, breathing in the stale corridor air. Why did I do that? What was wrong with me? But instead of going back in, apologizing, undoing the damage I'd just caused, I walked away. I told myself I was too busy, too stressed, that it was his fault for being clingy at the wrong time. Lie after lie after lie, stacked neatly on top of each other just so I wouldn't have to face the truth. I'd hurt him. For no reason. At work, my coworkers talked around me. Phones rang. Keyboards clicked. The world moved on. But my brain was still back at the doorway, replaying his expression over and over as if it were stuck on a projector reel. That half second where he swallowed whatever he'd been about to say. The way his shoulders dropped. The tiny breath he took, like he didn't want me to hear the disappointment in it. Why did a simple hug matter so much to him this morning? Why did I react like that? I tried to shove it aside. Tried to drown myself in tasks and noise. But his face kept slipping through the cracks, quiet, gentle, hurt in a way he didn't show often. And somewhere between emails and meetings, a small, uncomfortable thought started pressing against my ribs. What if that hug wasn't just a hug? What if he needed something he didn't know how to ask for? But I wasn't ready to face that yet. Not the truth behind it. Not the consequences. Not the silence that was waiting for me later. By noon, I'd refreshed my phone so many times the screen should have worn thin. Nothing. Not even a got to work safe. Not a meme. Not a how's your morning. Not even one of those pointless little updates he always sent, the ones I used to roll my eyes at but secretly relied on. At first, I tried to justify it. Maybe he was busy. Maybe his boss dumped something on him. Maybe he'd left his phone at home. But none of those excuses fit him. Not really. He was the type who texted even when he shouldn't. During meetings. During traffic. Even after we fought, he'd still send a cautious, "You okay?" But today, nothing. The silence felt unnatural. Wrong. By 1 p.m., my brain was no longer politely tapping for my attention. It was banging on the door, screaming that something was off. I kept replaying the morning again and again, each time noticing a new detail. Like how he hesitated before asking for the hug. Like how he fiddled with the sleeve of his shirt, something he did when he was anxious. Like the dark circles under his eyes I'd been too irritated to acknowledge. And then the look he gave me after I told him to grow up. God. I pressed my hand to my forehead, trying to quiet the buzzing panic rising inside me. It didn't work. If anything, the emotions tangled tighter. Was he mad at me? Was he disappointed? Had I pushed him too far this time? I'd brushed off little moments like this before, but this one felt different, like I'd slammed the door on more than just a hug. Like I'd closed off something fragile between us, something he had been trying, quietly, patiently, to build with me. A colleague said my name twice before I even realized she was talking to me. You good? You look pale. I forced a smile. Just tired. Another lie. My whole day was made out of them. When she left, I stared at my phone again, thumb hovering over his contact. Should I text him first? Should I apologize? What would I even say? Sorry I acted like a child while calling you one? Sorry I treated your feelings like an inconvenience? Sorry I slammed the door on you when you were just trying to feel close to me? Every version sounded pathetic. And a small, ugly fear whispered something I hated. What if he's done? What if today was the moment he finally realized he deserves better? That thought hit me like a punch. Because the truth was, I did love him. Maybe too much. Maybe in the only uncomfortable, clumsy way I knew how. And maybe that's why vulnerability scared me so badly. I picked up my phone and finally sent something. Just one word. Hey. It took 10 minutes for the 3 dots to appear. 10 minutes that felt like hours. 10 minutes in which my fingers went cold and my stomach sank. Then the dots vanished. No reply. My throat tightened. Something was wrong either between us, or inside him, or both. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't angry at him anymore. I was scared. Really scared. I told myself not to panic. I repeated it like a mantra, like a command. Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. But by the 4th call, straight to voicemail, my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. He never let his battery die. He never turned his phone off. And he definitely never ignored my calls, not after a fight. Usually he picked up immediately, eager to fix things, even when I wasn't ready. But today, I was the one desperate to fix it. And he was the one disappearing into silence. The irony stung. My mind started doing that horrible thing where it created possibilities, dark ones, loud ones, ones that made my chest feel too tight to breathe. What if he's hurt? What if something happened on his way to work? What if he's avoiding me because of what I said? What if he's done? What if this was the last straw? I hated how quickly my thoughts could spiral. But without his voice grounding me, they had nothing to cling to except fear. By the time I got home, the tension in my body had turned into a physical ache. I threw my keys on the table and hovered by the door as though he might magically appear in the hallway. The apartment was too quiet. Too still. His shoes weren't by the door. His jacket wasn't on the hook. His mug wasn't on the counter. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until I felt the burn in my chest. I dropped my bag and called him again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. I ended up pacing circles around the living room, tight, anxious circles, like my body was trying to outrun the guilt crawling up my spine. It was just a hug. A stupid hug. Why had I treated it like it was childish? Why did vulnerability irritate me? Why did I push him away when all he ever tried to do was pull me closer? I sat down, then stood up immediately. My skin felt too hot, my mind too loud. Something was wrong. Something was seriously wrong. I grabbed my phone and opened our message thread, scrolling up through everything: old pictures, long late-night conversations, stupid jokes he'd sent me, little check-ins that now felt like gold I'd carelessly wasted. God, he tried so hard. And I'd given so little back. My chest tightened painfully. I typed a message with trembling fingers. Please call me. I'm worried. I stared at it for a long time before pressing send. It felt raw, naked, like I'd stripped myself down to the truth. Minutes crawled by. Nothing. My heart was beating in the wrong rhythm now, too fast and too heavy all at once. I pressed my palms to my eyes as if I could physically push the panic back in. Then my phone vibrated. For a split second, hope shot through me so fast it made my knees weak. But it wasn't him. It was his coworker. A simple text. 7 words. Hey, is he okay? He seemed off today. My throat closed. Off? As in upset? As in not himself? I typed back quickly, fingers stumbling. What do you mean? The reply came almost immediately. He looked tired. Kinda down. Quiet. Thought you'd know what's up. I stared at the screen long enough for the words to blur. Tired. Down. Quiet. Words I should have noticed this morning. Signs I should have seen. A man reaching out in the smallest, gentlest way he could, just a hug, and I'd swatted it away like it was nothing. I sank onto the couch, breath unsteady. This wasn't about a hug. This was about something he'd been carrying alone. And I'd shoved him deeper into that silence. When his sister's name flashed across my screen, my stomach plummeted so fast it felt like falling. Did he come home? He hasn't replied to me all day. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't just me. This wasn't just a relationship problem. This was bigger. He hadn't spoken to anyone. My fingers shook as I typed back. No, I haven't heard from him either. The 3 dots began typing almost immediately. He's been really distant the past week. I thought maybe he was just tired from work, but now I'm worried. The past week. Tired. Distant. Signs I should have seen. Signs I did see but brushed off because I was too wrapped up in my own stress, my own routines, my own stubborn refusal to look too closely at anyone else's pain, not even his. I leaned back into the couch, phone tight in my hands. My mind started replaying the previous few days with an uncomfortable clarity. Him rubbing the bridge of his nose more often. Him staring at his phone like he wanted to say something but decided against it. Him waking up earlier, quietly, so as not to bother me. Him sitting beside me on the couch, but somehow feeling far away. And the one that hit me the hardest. Him hugging me tighter than usual the night before, like he needed it, not just wanted it. But I'd half asleeply patted his back and mumbled, "Good night," barely awake enough to register the heaviness in his exhale. It all added up now. And the shame of ignoring it burned through me like acid. My phone buzzed again, this time a voice note from his sister. I hesitated, then pressed play. Her voice was soft, worried, trembling at the edges. "Hey, I don't know if he told you, but he's been really stressed about work stuff lately. He didn't want to worry you, so he kept saying he was fine. But last night he texted me really late asking if I ever feel like I'm disappointing everyone." My breath caught. She continued, voice cracking slightly. "I told him he's doing his best. That he's not alone. But he didn't reply after that. And now he's not answering anyone. Please, just let me know if he comes home. I'm scared." I set the phone down, hands over my mouth. His voice from that morning echoed in my head. "Before we head out, can I get a hug? Not needy. Not childish. Not immature." The last thread he had strength to reach for. And I cut it. My eyes burned. A pressure building behind them. I kept trying to blink away. But the harder I tried not to cry, the more the truth dug its claws into me. He'd been drowning quietly, trying to stay afloat without bothering me, trying to be strong for everyone while secretly falling apart. And when he finally reached out, in the only gentle way he knew how, I slapped his hand away and told him to grow up. No wonder he disappeared into silence today. No wonder his phone stayed off. No wonder everyone was worried. God, what had I done? I grabbed my jacket and tossed it over my shoulders. I needed to do something, go out, look for him, call his coworkers again, something, but before I reached the door, my phone vibrated again. A text. From him. My breath froze in my throat. My hand trembled as I unlocked the screen. One message. 5 words. "I'll be home late tonight." No heart. No smiley. No reassurance. Just distant. Flattened. Stripped of all warmth. But he was alive. Safe. Somewhere. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost gave out. But right behind it came something sharper: fear. Because that message didn't sound like him. It sounded like someone who'd given up trying to be understood. I heard his keys before I saw him. A soft metallic rattle outside the door, normally a comforting sound. The sound of him coming home, filling the space with warmth and presence and little domestic rhythms I'd grown far too accustomed to. But tonight, the sound made my breath catch. I stood in the hallway, unsure if I should run to the door or back away from it. My heart thudded unevenly, like it was trying to escape before I had to face whatever damage I'd caused. The lock clicked. The door opened. And he stepped inside. He didn't look angry. I was ready for anger. I could have handled anger. But his expression was worse, so much worse. Quiet. Tired. Empty in a way I'd never seen before. His shoulders sagged, his movements slow, as though gravity had increased just for him. He didn't even look up at me at first. He just toed his shoes off gently, placed his bag down, and exhaled like he was trying not to break. "Hi," I said, my voice a whisper that felt too thin for the room. He glanced up. The softness that usually lived in his eyes was gone, replaced by something distant and dimmed. He looked at me like someone who wasn't sure if he was allowed to look too long. "Hey," he said, barely above a murmur. That single word cracked me open more than any yelling ever could have. He walked past me toward the kitchen, movements careful, quiet, small. And for a terrifying moment, it felt like I was watching him through glass, close enough to see, too far to touch. He grabbed a glass from the cabinet, filled it with water, and leaned against the counter, staring down at his hands like they were foreign. His knuckles were slightly white, not from tension, from restraint. I stepped closer. "You didn't answer my calls," I said softly. He took a slow sip. "Phone died." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. It was an excuse, a shield, one he'd never used with me before. "I was worried," I whispered. He nodded once, still not looking at me. Sorry. He said sorry. He apologized. To me. It twisted something deep, deep inside my chest. I took another step, slow and careful, like approaching a frightened animal. "This morning," my voice wavered. I shouldn't have said what I said. It's fine," he cut in too quickly. "You were stressed." No anger. No bitterness. Just resignation. Like he'd already made peace with being an afterthought. My eyes stung. "It's not fine." He finally looked at me. Really looked. And God, the quiet sadness there made my throat close. He set the glass down and wiped his palms on his jeans, a nervous gesture. "I didn't mean to bother you. I know you have a lot going on. I shouldn't have asked for a hug." I stepped closer, heart breaking open in my chest. "You shouldn't have to apologize for that." He swallowed hard, jaw tightening slightly. "I wasn't trying to be clingy. I don't know. I woke up feeling heavy today. I thought maybe. I don't know. It doesn't matter." "It matters," I said, voice cracking. He shook his head lightly, gaze drifting to the floor. "It really doesn't. I shouldn't have put you in that position. I'm not a kid." Each word was a knife. He was repeating what I had thrown at him, internalizing it, believing it. I took another step until I was close enough to touch him, but didn't, because I was terrified of breaking what little trust was left between us. "I didn't mean it," I whispered. "I swear I didn't." His voice was barely a breath. "I know." But he didn't sound like he believed it. He sounded like someone who'd learned to expect disappointment. The silence between us stretched, thick and fragile. I reached out slowly, fingertips brushing the back of his hand. He flinched. Not visibly. Not dramatically. Just a tiny, involuntary pullback, quick, instinctive, like touch had suddenly become unfamiliar. My heart shattered. "I'm so sorry," I breathed. He exhaled shakily. "I'm just tired. I don't want to talk about it right now." Not angry. Just defeated. And that hurt more than anything. He wasn't shutting me out. He was shutting down. I nodded, voice breaking. "Okay, but I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." He gave a faint, strained smile, the kind that wasn't really a smile at all, and turned toward the hallway. As he walked away, I realized this wasn't just a rough day. This was a man who had reached his breaking point quietly, alone, and I'd pushed him over the edge without even noticing. And now I had to find a way to reach him again. The apartment was dark when I finally found him. I'd been searching, half running, half stumbling through rooms, calling his name softly, almost afraid of disturbing him. And then I heard it, the quiet sound of water dripping, uneven and heavy, like a heartbeat out of sync. I paused at the bathroom doorway. There he was, sitting on the floor, knees pulled to his chest, back leaning against the cool tiles. The shower was still running, a thin curtain of warm water cascading over him. But the warmth wasn't touching him. He'd positioned himself so that only a tiny trickle splashed across his shoulder. His head was buried in his hands. For a heartbeat, I just stood there, frozen, stunned. The man who usually carried himself with quiet composure, the one who joked even when life was hard, was broken. And he'd been carrying this weight quietly, silently, while I dismissed him with a throwaway insult and a slammed door. I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat almost choking me. I whispered, stepping closer. He didn't move. I sank to the floor beside him, careful not to touch, just close enough to share the small space. "I'm sorry," I said again, voice raw. I wasn't thinking. I shouldn't have." He lifted his head slowly, water dripping from his hair, eyes glimmering red and tired. His voice came out low, strained, almost trembling, but there was a steadiness beneath it, a weight I could feel pressing into the room. "You don't realize how much I needed that just one moment to feel understood. Just one moment where I felt close to you. And instead, you pushed me away. You turned me away when I was already carrying everything alone." His words hit me like a physical force, and I felt the heat rise behind my eyes. I swallowed, voice breaking before I even knew I was speaking. I know, and I hate myself for it. I thought I was being practical, responsible, but it was cruel. You didn't deserve that. You shouldn't have had to hold everything by yourself." He let out a long, shaky breath, tilting his head back against the tiles, eyes closing for a moment as if trying to gather the fragments of himself. "I didn't want to bother you. I didn't want to add to your stress. I just needed to be close to you, even for a minute. I didn't ask for much." The words tore through me. I reached out, placing a trembling hand near his shoulder, careful not to touch it first. "You never bother me," I whispered. "You never have." And my voice faltered. "I should have seen that. I should have been here for you. I failed you today." He opened his eyes slowly, looking at me, truly looking like he'd been holding back everything he wanted to say for days. And in that moment, the raw honesty, the quiet, heartbreaking truth in his gaze, it cracked something open inside me that I'd been guarding fiercely. "I'm tired," he admitted softly, voice barely more than a whisper, "of carrying it all by myself. I don't want to be alone in this. Not with you, not anymore." My chest tightened. I moved closer now, gently bridging the small gap, letting my hand rest on his knee. "You're not alone," I promised. "Not anymore. I'm here. I'll be here." And for the first time all day, he let himself lean slightly toward me, not because I forced it, not because I said the right words, but because he trusted me enough to finally let some of the weight fall. Like and subscribe for more.